My name is Dom Conlon, and I'm a poet and an author, and I'm broadcasting my message from here on planet Earth. Maybe you've heard of it. It's small, measuring about 40,000 kilometres in circumference, and it's full of life, bursting with so much diversity, it makes me giddy. I love space. One of the reasons the Earth has got so much life is thanks to the rock orbiting it. That rock's called the moon. And that keeps Earth steady on its axis and controls its tides, which help make its climate safe for every living thing. The moon inspires me as a poet. I love stories about it. I love the science of it. I love the way I feel when I look at it. And that helps me to write poetry. In this session, I'll be sharing some of that with you and suggesting ways you might use to write your own poetry. The first thing to remember about poetry is that it's all about you. You write the poetry the way you want to write it. If you like to rhyme, use rhyme. If you don't, don't. If you like fancy words, use them. If you don't, don't. Poetry has tools, not rules. You should always do it your way. Sometimes I like to write using tools like metaphors or similes or rhymes. And sometimes I like to write a sonnet, which is a 14-line poem, and I'll be reading one of them later. Or a haiku, a 3-line poem with 5 syllables in the first line, 7 in the second, and 5 in the third. But one tool I love using is called a kenning. And a kenning is a really old form of poetry, just 2 words to describe something. Can't use the name of that thing in 2 words, but you need to sum up what it is in a way that people just know what you mean. So when you describe a whale, for example, you might use the kenning ocean balloon or sea singer. And we go, a whale, yeah. So here's a poem made entirely of kennings, and it's called What Am I? Earth orbiter, rock blaster, hook scraper, shape caster, sea puller, night lighter, sky watcher, sun biter, footprint hoarder, flag carrier, shadow sweeper, meteor barrier. What am I? You could play a game of kennings, cunning kennings, could call it, where you're given a card with an object on it, a whale, a tree, a teacher, and you have to write a few kennings to describe it. You see if you can get other people to guess, your friends to guess, what your object is when you say your kenning out loud. So if you say ocean balloon, do people guess it's a whale? Or how's this for a series of haiku to describe the moon? She's Cinderella, dragging the ocean's ball gown as she flees the night. Or this. After the storm died, Earth flung a smooth white pebble, hoping for ripples. And my favourite haiku that I've written, because it was mostly written for me. Here it is, listen to this. Remember 3 lines. 1 small step for man, 1 giant leap for mankind. Historic moon words. So structure's good, but sometimes I write what might look like a rambling poem because I want to get across how confused I am or how my head's feeling a bit chaotic, like the floor after a food fight. And poetry can do that. Poetry can do all these things and so much more because it's all about you. And for me, I like to write about the moon. My book, This Rock, That Rock, is all about what I think about when I think about the moon. So here's an example from it. It's called Big Thinkery Things I'm Thinking About When I Think About Other People Thinking About Going to the Moon. There's a title for you. Okay. I think I'm going to join them. I think, why not? I think nothing can stop me. I think, stop. I think, how am I going to join them? I think about all the training. I think about how old I am. I think about thinking too much about how old I am. I think about taking shortcuts. I think there are none. I think about how few people have been there. I think that's no reason not to try. I think I'm scared of heights. I think that's no reason not to try. I think of all the times I've looked at it. I think I've been there many times. Sometimes poetry can be as simple as that. I think. And I think for me, the power in that poem is that it pulls together a list of reasons. And the act of making that list made me really think about myself and why I do or don't do things. Presented together in the small space of a poem, that feels effective. So try that. Try writing a list poem about things to think about when going to the moon or somewhere else, like back to school after the lockdown. That feels just as brave, doesn't it? Yeah? Just as difficult. Because here's the thing about poetry. Well, here's my thing about poetry. For me, it's about truth. Dig into yourself. Admit difficult things. Like if I was to write a list of things I thought about before talking to you here, then I'd have to admit that it's not easy to do this without seeing you. And admitting that's kind of really hard. Making a list of things you're thinking about can help with any poem. You need your thoughts in order, but it needn't be a list of ordinary things. It can be anything you'd like it to be. And I enjoy having fun mixing the ordinary with the extraordinary. So here's a poem called Moon Baggage. Everything was packed. The air to keep them breathing on it. The fuel to carry them to it. The food to keep them strong for it. The suits to keep them warm on it. The cameras to show the world it, and the tools to find what made it. But they also packed the generations spent looking up at it, the myths of dragons who ate it, the hearts of lovers who met beneath it, the brave souls who sailed by it, the seers who said it would return, the charts of the scientists who measured it, the leaps in the dark to it, the balloon rides to it. Even the dreams of it were stowed tight until the spacecraft became light enough to fly to it. Now here's another challenge for you. Imagine that journey to school I mentioned earlier. Imagine it as though you're going to a different planet, and it kind of feels like a different planet at the moment, doesn't it? Yeah? Well, imagine that. Look at the things you wrote about for that list and ask yourself which of those you could turn into items to be packed. Maybe you wrote down words like uncertainty or excitement. You could turn those into items. Something like, I pack my uncertainty like a delicate ornament. Or I pack my excitement like a towering bowl of jelly. That sort of language helps to show how we're feeling in a far more interesting way than just using words on their own. It's why we might say, I've butterflies in my tummy, rather than I'm excited. So maybe now you can understand how I feel about space. I think it's important to share this excitement. That's why I wrote so many poems about the moon. Poetry is important because it can help us to understand how things work, but also because it can inspire us. It took over 400,000 people to put 2 humans on the moon. People you'd expect, like engineers, programmers, pilots, but also people you might not expect, like tailors, cleaners, artists. When you draw a picture of how a colony on the moon might work, or write a story about the problems people might face in outer space, or even when you recycle and encourage others to do the same, you're putting yourself on the same path those 400,000 people walked upon before you. You don't know where that'll lead. Isn't that incredible? Here's a poem I wrote about being inspired. Now, way back in the 1970s, I was given a present for Christmas which changed my life. And this poem is called Father Christmas Sent Me to the Moon. I don't know how he put it there. Our gas fire blocked the chimney, and the green rug where I played has never magically flown for me. But there it was, a telescope, unwrapped but still a mystery, centred like a compass needle, pointing the way to my heart. I lifted it to the window, lowered its legs like a newborn lamb's, and opened its eye to a world still waiting to be cratered by snowballs. I took my first footsteps before I could breathe, when I looked at the moon and learned to believe. Now that telescope inspired me, and the illustration for this actually is beautiful. So this is it, because this telescope inspired me to find out more about the moon and about space. And from those things, I found I wanted to learn about all other things too. Vivian Schwartz did that illustration. She's done the illustrations in the whole book, and they're amazing. And I was interested in what she was doing, just as being interested became my favourite thing ever. Because being interested in how the world works and being interested in what you have to say is really important to me. If I was there today, I'd want to listen to your ideas. I'd want to ask you what the moon might look like in 20 years' time or 100 years' time when we begin to live up there and launch spaceships from there. I'm pretty sure your ideas would get me thinking about the world, about how it might be. And that's really important, don't you think? To imagine what might be, to make a better world by imagining it first. Now here's a poem I wrote, another poem I wrote, called, it's on page 67, it's called Future Moon. It's a 3-night stay at Tranquility Bay, roller coaster rides on moonlight tides. It's a firework display night and day, dot to dot stars, a gateway to Mars. It's a chance to explore, using less, giving more. It's a beacon of when, not a symbol of then. It's inclusive views, galactic news, riding along with well-trained crews. It's learning new skills. It's wonder and thrills. It's the need to cope. It's the science of hope. It's a deep black sky, the leap to fly. Wiser ways, the sun's clean rays. Sustainable, attainable, reliable and explainable. It's everyone's footprint on a whole new world. It's everyone's flag, flying, unfurled. Now, imagining the future sometimes means you have to understand the past or the present, but sometimes it just needs you to take a moment to realize just how amazing everything is. How amazing it is that 4.5 billion years ago, a rock the size of Mars crashed into the Earth and knocked a lump off, which got caught in the gravity and became our moon. And how amazing that every living thing here comes from the same mix of atoms and molecules, that those atoms were born in the heart of a star, which exploded billions of years ago and spread across the galaxy until eventually it became the start of life, and it became you and you and you and you and me. I love that. I love knowing that. I think taking some time to write about the things you love will be a good exercise for a poem too. Look around you. Do that thinkery thing we talked about and choose 2 things to write about. Maybe it's you and a friend. Maybe it's you and the planet. Ask yourself how you feel about both things working together. What's great about you? What's great about your friend? But also, what can you do together that you can't do alone? Because if there's one thing thinking about space has taught me, it's that we have to work together. You have to work with your teacher, with your mum, with your little brother, with the planet, just as Neil Armstrong had to work with Michael Collins and Buzz Aldrin, just as those 3 had to work with those 400,000 other people in order to travel 220,000 miles to reach and land upon the moon. That's the way I wrote this next poem, which is about working with you to look at and fix this fragile earth of ours. This is a sonnet, 14-line poem called Moon Sonnet. Stand here with me upon this fragile earth. Stand here below the whispered watch of moon. Stand here and ask, how can we fix our world as man-made problems rage within its shell? Now, shift your gaze up to that star-washed rock, which, set into a sea of untouched calm, can draw our dreams out like a candle flame for us to see and follow like a trail. When we view the world from this distant eye, that is our moon, we can see our lives whole as one heart beating in a skin of air, one life to be lived and to love itself. Stand here as me, as I stand here as you, and share the sight our moon gives us tonight. Now I'm going to ask you to remember a few things from this ramble I've taken you on today. The first is that you be interested in something. It could be you, it could be space, yay! Or it could be sport, or it could be reading or singing or anything, as long as you do it to your best ability. The next thing is that you share your interests. Don't spend your time telling someone their interests dumb, stupid, lame. Spend your time telling them why your interest is great. And in return, spend time listening to them tell you why they love what they love. Finally, I'm going to say this. Be quietly remarkable. Just like the moon up there orbiting quietly, but essential. You're never first. You're sometimes last. And lessons don't sink in so fast. It feels as though your other mates are quick to speak in class debates, but you're the moon. And that's okay. You're doing fine. You're here to stay. Quietly remarkable. You look ahead, but nothing's clear. Every choice is edged with fear. You don't know what you'd like to do. The jobs you see don't feel quite you. But you're the moon. And that's okay. You're doing fine. You're here to stay. Quietly remarkable. You're doing good when that one friend turns to you and in the end, and you're right there to help them out, to show them what the world's about, because you see it through your eyes and no one else can be as wise and quietly remarkable. Because you're the moon, and that's okay. You're doing fine. You're here to stay. Quietly remarkable. Well, I hope you've enjoyed me talking today. I hope you've heard something which helps you in your own writing or your own interests. My name is Dom Conlon, and I'm off back down to my own planet. Thank you very, very much.